Did you know that The Warriors was so brutal, theaters yanked it from screens? Critics loathed it.
Union Square! Union Square! What about the others?
Fights erupted at showings, and studios tried to kill it. But it survived. Behind the gangs and chaos were real dangers on set, lost scenes hiding secrets, and unseen shocks. Here are 25 revelations that expose what's been buried for decades. Number 25, The Rule of Darkness. When the sun went down, the Warriors came alive. Director Walter Hill made one rule: no daylight ever. For 3 brutal months, the cast filmed only between midnight and dawn. Sleep disappeared, and the crew's sanity cracked under flickering streetlights. That exhaustion became the movie's secret pulse. You could feel the paranoia, the wide eyes, and the breathless energy in every frame. At some point, the crew members joked they were ghosts, fueled by coffee, adrenaline, and fear. It was as if the city itself was watching them. Beyond the stress of the movie, the Warriors faced immeasurable threats from the streets of New York. Speaking of things that tested the crew's limits, one particular moment blurred the line between acting and real danger. Number 24, The Birth of a Nightmare. The most famous moment in The Warriors came when Luther clinked bottles together and sneered, "Warriors, come out to play!" Now, even though it looked rehearsed, it was pure unscripted chaos. David Patrick Kelly invented the line on the spot. He pulled inspiration from a haunting childhood memory where a strange neighbor once taunted kids through a fence. The neighbor also jingled bottles and chanted in a mocking sing-song voice. On set, Kelly tried it quietly, half as a joke, but when Hill heard it, he froze. "That's it," he said. "That's the moment." When the cameras rolled, Kelly vanished into Luther's deranged grin, and then the bottles clinked like a warning from the dark. Crew members said it didn't feel like acting. It was nothing short of possession. That eerie sound became cinema's most chilling improvisation, giving New York's night a voice of madness. If you thought that was intense, the real chaos came after the director yelled cut. Number 23, Real Gangs, Real Threats. The Warriors wasn't shot on a Hollywood backlot, but deep inside late 70s New York when the city was wild, broke, and bleeding. Gangs ruled the whole block, and you didn't just walk in with cameras, you negotiated your way through. Hill's team made deals with real crews just to survive the night. Some demanded protection fees, while others wanted screen time. Every location came with a warning: cross the wrong block and you might not make it back. Not only that, extras sometimes showed up wearing actual gang colors, and then real gang members noticed, causing tempers to explode fast. After each take, the cast ran straight for the van since there was barely any police around. Hill later admitted, "You didn't know if you'd get shot or get jumped." One night, a lighting truck was smashed mid-scene. From then on, the crew traveled with off-duty cops and hired muscle. But instead of backing down, they embraced the chaos. That fear, the pulse, became part of the movie's DNA. The Warriors didn't just act in danger, they lived it, and that danger followed them right into their own costumes. Number 22, Hunted for the Costumes. Those leather vests didn't just symbolize brotherhood, they were bait. The Warriors' outfits were too bold and way too real for the streets they filmed on. The cast couldn't wear them in public without drawing threats from real gangs. The production team ordered everyone to cover up between takes and hide their colors under long trench coats. Still, fights broke out, and actors were mistaken for rivals. One joked that wearing the vest was basically a neon sign that said, "Come beat me up." The danger got so real that some subway scenes had to be rushed before trouble found them. Costume designer Bobby Mannix refused to compromise. She said they have to look like gods of the street, larger than life. Her designs turned each gang into something mythic, making them look like warriors out of a comic book. Although that might have felt like a dream waiting to explode, the soundtrack had its own rebellious rhythm. Number 21, the Defying Soundtrack. The Warriors didn't sound like any film in 1979. There was no sweeping orchestra, no predictable score. Instead, composer Barry Davorzon built a pulsing electronic heartbeat and funk bass driving every scene. It sounded futuristic and street level at once. Even studio executives thought it was too strange, too risky, and too unconventional. Nevertheless, Hill fought for it, saying, "This film isn't about the past. It's a nightmare future that looks like now." The music turned New York into a labyrinth of sound. Streets, tunnels, and alleys vibrated with tension. Tracks like the Warriors theme and Baseball Fury's Chase still define the movie today. The soundtrack wasn't background, it was the Warriors' pulse echoing through every corner of the city. Every clink, every beat, every note became part of the city's heartbeat, but the way the film was shot was even wilder. Number 20, a run-and-gun filmmaking nightmare. Every chase in the Warriors was filmed guerrilla style. There were no permits, minimal setups, and oftentimes no second takes. They ran through real subways and real tunnels with real New Yorkers staring. Cameras, lights, actors moved in constant motion. The crew would load equipment into cars, shoot until police arrived, and then flee to the next location. It was exhausting, chaotic, and technically illegal, but it gave the movie raw authenticity. At one time, one assistant director hid the camera under a blanket between takes, hoping that no one would notice. The city wasn't a set. It was alive and threatening, ready to turn hostile at any second. That tension fueled every sprint, every fight, and every narrow escape. But beyond the screen, the experience didn't end. It continued. The cast and crew felt the city's pulse even after the camera stopped. The movie didn't just show New York. It ran through it, bruised, breathless, and unstoppable. Number 19, premiere turned violent. The 1979 premiere of The Warriors promised excitement, but what happened was chaos. Within days, theaters erupted. Rival gangs showed up wearing real colors, sparking fights across the country. In Boston, one man lost his life outside of a screening, and Paramount panicked. Immediately, TV ads were pulled, posters canceled, and police urged to patrol theaters. For weeks, the film felt too dangerous to watch. Hill defended it fiercely. It didn't cause violence, it reflected it. Still, the damage was done, and the controversy became part of the myth. But behind the scenes, something small nearly changed everything. Number 18, the DJ who narrated the night. That smoky, unseen DJ wasn't just a voice. She was the city's conscience. Lynn Thigpen never appeared on camera, yet her presence filled every dark corner. She stitched the chaos together, turning street violence into myth. Her tone, part warning, part prophecy. Hill described her as a Greek chorus, but in vinyl and lipstick. Every broadcast pulsed through the streets like fate guiding the Warriors home. Audiences never saw her face but felt her presence everywhere. Her voice gave the film rhythm. Through her broadcast, danger became poetry, fear became narrative, and New York itself came alive. Surprisingly, as her voice drifted through the darkness, one particular gang stole the spotlight with makeup straight out of a nightmare. Number 17, the Baseball Fury's true origin. The Baseball Furies were not created arbitrarily. Rather, their design and behavior were carefully inspired by a mix of real street gangs and martial arts. Director Hill asked the production team to imagine a gang that combined the appearance of baseball players with the disciplined movement of samurai warriors. The actors were then trained to move in synchronized ritualistic patterns, often carrying bats as weapons to create the impression of silent and lethal precision. Each scene involving the Furies required extensive makeup and costume preparation, including full face paint and custom-designed baseball uniforms. One of the most demanding aspects was choreographing the gang's movements for the chase sequences through parks, streets, and subway tunnels, demanding careful coordination to avoid accidents. Despite the grueling demands of the makeup, the visual result achieved the intended effect and left a lasting impression on audiences. Number 16, Swan, the accidental hero. Swan was not originally intended to be the leader of the Warriors. That role was written for Fox, portrayed by actor Thomas G. Waits. During filming, Waits had a dispute with Hill, which led to his removal from the production. With Fox's departure, the script required an immediate rewrite to maintain the story's continuity, and Hill had to reassign the leadership role to Michael Beck, who played Swan. Beck, initially cast as a secondary character, suddenly became the central figure in the narrative. Despite the change, Beck was reportedly unaware that he had become the lead until roughly halfway through the shoot. The story adjustments included reworking dialogue, reassigning character responsibilities in the gang, and modifying key scenes to reflect Swan's new role. These overnight revisions were completed while maintaining the production schedule, ensuring that filming continued without major delays despite the abrupt casting change. That spontaneous rewrite grounded the movie, and the man who lost his role became part of the story's greatest mystery. Number 15. The Disappearing Fox. Waits' character Fox vanished. One moment he was running, fighting, and surviving. The next moment, he was completely gone. There was no explanation and no goodbye. That disappearance wasn't a creative twist, it was a sudden production fix. Waits' dismissal left the crew with no option but to improvise an overnight exit. It was meant to tidy the plot, but instead it became one of cinema's eeriest vanishings. To this day, fans debate, did Fox die or did he simply slip into New York's endless darkness unseen? Hill later confessed, "We didn't have time to explain, we just had to survive the schedule." Survival wasn't just a theme for the characters, it was the reality for the cast and crew. Number 14. Injuries, exhaustion, and real pain. By halfway through filming, nearly every actor had suffered injuries. Stunts were raw, unchoreographed, and often unsupervised. Beck cracked his wrist during a fight. Deborah Van Valkenburg sprained her ankle. Kelly accidentally took a punch to the face. Retakes were rarely an option, but Hill believed that exhaustion and chaos would make the performances more real, and he was right. It showed in the eyes, the faces, and the sweat. It wasn't acting anymore, but enduring and surviving through pain. One night, the stunt team ran through a park so dark they lost each other for minutes and nobody yelled cut. They ran until someone found the camera again. Every frame captured raw intensity and desperation. The reckless energy became the movie's heartbeat, leaving scars that lasted decades. Pain and risk were transformed into cinematic power, immortalized in every frame. Yet through that pain came one of the film's boldest artistic choices. Number 13. The Comic Book Connection. Hill wanted the Warriors to feel like a living comic book, not through dialogue, but in structure and rhythm. He planned for every scene to fade into illustrated panels with captions. Paramount executives called it too strange, so they cut the idea. Hill restored the vision in the 2005 director's cut, finally realizing his mythic storytelling. The gangs were transformed from thugs into archetypes and the city into a battleground of legends. Hill explained, "If you think The Warriors is about gangs, you missed it. It's about heroes and villains in modern armor." The comic book lens gave the film a timeless quality, echoing in hip-hop, video games, and pop culture. The film became not just a story, but a myth in motion, with New York as a character of epic scale. Undoubtedly, that mythic lens gave the film timelessness, a quality that echoed in hip-hop, video games, and beyond. Number 12. The Game That Brought Them Back. In 2005, Rockstar Games released the Warriors video game. It wasn't a simple tie-in, it was a full tribute. The developers treated the film like sacred text, expanding the universe and showing what happened before the fateful Bronx meeting. Every gang had an origin, and every alley had history. Players could walk the streets, throw punches, and live the chaos firsthand. Most of the original cast returned to voice their characters nearly 3 decades later, bringing authenticity to every line. Fans discovered the film and knew through the game, keeping the legend alive for a new generation. Hill's rule, which was about showing some but leaving some to imagination, shaped both mediums. The game proved that survival, chaos, and loyalty could thrive in interactive form. The Warriors weren't just characters, they became legends, reborn, moving through virtual streets as fiercely as they did on the screen. Number 11. No Blood, Just Fear. Despite the relentless violence, the Warriors featured almost no visible blood. Hill made that choice intentionally. He believed that implied danger was more powerful than gore. Show the fear, not the wound, he often reminded the crew. The restraint made each brawl more intense, every hit and every fall lethal without showing the aftermath. Sounds of fists, echoes of pain, quick cuts, and flickering lights turned action into dreamlike tension. Critics called it comic book brutality, but fans recognized something deeper: survival distilled into pure emotion. Every threat felt real and every fight felt urgent. Fear became visual, physical, and psychological, allowing the audience's imagination to complete the violence. Hill's approach transformed the film into a mythic and nightmarish urban odyssey. Number 10. The deleted scene that showed Cyrus's power. Roger Hill's thunderous delivery of "Can you dig it?" became one of cinema's most memorable rallying cries, but a lesser-known fact is that Paramount executives almost cut a key preceding scene. Studio brass thought a full scene of Cyrus greeting each gang before his speech was too slow and unnecessary, wanting to rush to the action. The sequence where Cyrus establishes his undeniable dominance over the 60,000-strong crowd by simply walking through them was almost lost. Hill fought passionately to preserve the scene, arguing that the moment was crucial for establishing the massive stakes of the rally. The director won the battle, and the pivotal movement of silence and control is what gave his booming speech its ultimate dramatic weight, showing why the gangs listened. Number 9. The beach showdown was never the plan. Coney Island wasn't in the original script. Hill had planned to end the film underground with the gang trapped in subway darkness. During filming, he changed his mind. He wanted light after months of darkness, a sunrise signaling survival and hope. The new ending was written overnight. The warriors would confront Luther by the ocean, the night finally giving way to day. It cost 2 extra nights of shooting and pushed the crew to exhaustion. When the sun rose, the reflection on their faces wasn't acting. It was raw relief. That improvised ending gave the warriors closure, proving that even amid chaos, there is always escape. The dawn wasn't just scenery, it became a visual exhale for both the gang and the audience. It reminded viewers that after every night, there is light, and every story has its moment of release. The theme of escape mirrored the city that inspired it all. Number 8. New York was the real villain. The film wasn't just about gangs, the city itself was the enemy. In 1979, New York teetered on collapse, with crime, blackouts, and graffiti-stained subways. Hill refused to hide the city's decay. "Don't clean anything," he told the crew. "The dirt is the story." Every alley, tunnel, and rooftop was shot as they found it. Rust, rain, and grime became part of the narrative. You could almost smell the sweat and fear dripping from every frame. The city was alive, unpredictable, and relentless, shaping every chase, every fight, and every heartbeat of tension. Even now, the streets feel like characters themselves, unforgiving and immortal. New York was not the backdrop, it was a living, breathing antagonist that pushed the warriors to their limits. But behind the grime and chaos was a production that almost fell apart for one surprising reason: love. Number 7. The love story that wasn't supposed to happen. The romance between Swan and Mercy wasn't in the script. It grew naturally on set during pauses between chaos. Hill noticed the chemistry and rewrote scenes to keep her alongside Swan. Originally, Mercy would have disappeared after the train scene, but their raw energy gave the movie an emotional heartbeat. Off-screen, the actors didn't always get along, but friction on set amplified the on-screen connection. Hill crafted moments to highlight their bond, turning a fleeting connection into something cinematic and unforgettable. It grounded the film emotionally, giving it stakes beyond life or death. Their romance reminded viewers that even in darkness, small moments of connection can illuminate the night. And speaking of emotion, one moment captured that chaos more beautifully than anyone expected. Number 6. The shot that was never meant to happen. During a chaotic subway chase, a cameraman accidentally kept rolling after Hill had called cut. What was filmed wasn't acting, but the aftermath. Exhausted actors panting, sweating, half laughing, and half panicked after a long sprint. Hill watched the footage later and didn't see a mistake, he saw the truth. That unplanned moment became one of the film's most authentic sequences. Everyone gasped, every trembling hand and every bead of sweat captured raw humanity. Hill believed in happy accidents. If something felt alive, don't fix it, film it. This philosophy defined the Warriors from start to finish, with nothing polished and nothing fake. That single accident embodied the movie's soul: survival, chaos, and relentless motion. Through it, the city and the gang felt real, breathing together in one uninterrupted pulse of life. Number 5. From box office flop to cult resurrection. Even though the Warriors' debut stirred up dust, something strange happened years later. Midnight screenings began filling seats. Audiences from urban 80s neighborhoods saw themselves in the story. Villains became survivors. Slowly, the film transformed from feared to revered, from controversial to cult legend. Hip-hop lyrics, graffiti, and fashion adopted its language, style, and attitude. Hill said, "Time saved the movie," and he was right. Fear faded, myth endured. Generations grew up learning its lessons, echoing the film's pulse in everyday culture. A once dismissed movie had become gospel for urban storytelling. Even decades later, reunions proved the legend was alive, tangible, and beloved. The Warriors didn't just survive on screen, they survived in hearts and streets. Number 4, the reunion that broke the internet. In 2015, the original cast reunited, riding the subway in full costume, retracing the movie's route. Fans flooded the train, cheering as though it were a rock concert. For actors like Michael Beck, it was emotional. It felt like we had never left Coney Island, he said. The world had changed, but the energy hadn't. Social media exploded with nostalgia. The Warriors hadn't just survived, they had evolved. What was once dangerous became sacred pop culture. On the boardwalk, the crowd chanted the iconic line that started it all. The reunion reminded everyone why the Warriors had never truly left the streets. While the reunion proved how mythic the Warriors had become, Hill's original vision led to one surprising secret. Number 3, the stolen name. The name The Warriors wasn't invented for the film. It was stolen from a real active street gang in the Bronx during the 1970s. Hill's production team approached the gang early on to secure access to filming locations and prevent trouble. The negotiation included permission to use their colors and name, effectively turning a real-life threat into a cinematic legend. This subtle theft of identity blurred the line between fiction and reality, giving the movie a dangerous borrowed authenticity. The Warriors weren't just fictional characters, they were ghosts of real-life streets they filmed on. Number 2, the Coney Island sunrise. After a night soaked in violence, uncertainty, and paranoia, the Warriors finally reached Coney Island. Hill wanted the ending to feel like a spiritual rebirth, and that is exactly what it was. As the orange light stretched over the boardwalk, no one spoke. They just watched. For the first time, the gang and the audience could breathe. The sunrise symbolized survival, freedom, and deliverance. Hill called it a visual exhale. The golden light transformed a story about escape into one about endurance. The sunrise wasn't just an ending, it was a beginning. What started as one gang's long night out would echo for decades after. Number 1, Broadway actors in a street gang. The grittiest gang movie of the 70s had a secret weapon you probably wouldn't have expected: Broadway actors. Many of the Warriors came straight from the stage, bringing all of that Shakespearean training to the streets of New York. Dorsey Wright, for example, had just finished performing in Hair before landing his role. Other cast members had similar theater backgrounds, mixing classical technique with raw urban energy. This wasn't just luck, it was pure genius. Their stage experience gave their performances a kind of mythic weight. They could throw down tough guy lines with the same intensity they'd bring to a dramatic monologue. The result was a gang movie that felt real, brutal, and yet elevated, like ancient warriors speaking in modern tongues. From the shadowed alleys where gangs clashed and sirens wailed, the Warriors survived real-life rumbles, bands, buried truths, and secrets. All of it echoes through cult classics forever. But can a street epic, scarred by chaos, truly outrun its own legend? Warriors, sound off below. Which secret slammed you the hardest? Hit like to join the fight, share the turf, and subscribe for more hidden showdowns. Thanks for watching.